And it is the eve of Justin Trudeau going to my hometown to apologize to residential school survivors. And there are members of my family who have gone to residential school. The first person who comes to my mind is my grandmother. It's very difficult, and you'll have to forgive my emotional response, or not, because I'm not sorry for it. As this is something that's impacted multiple generations of my family. I'm a Nunatsi woman from Labrador. I was born and raised for the most part in Happy Valley Goose Bay, and my family line comes from Rivulet. I think it's important to let you guys know how I got involved in this resistance. I've never been, and I've kind of shared this with Emily, as well as Matthew and others who know me, that I'm not somebody who enjoys the spotlight. The real issue at hand here is that the government at multiple levels is responsible for funding a project that is poisoning Indigenous people in Canada's north, as well as settlers that live there. Dozens of grassroots resistors and land protectors, they broke through the gate last fall. They cut a lock, walked, I think it was 10 kilometers, down a frozen, slushy dirt road to walk and occupy a camp. 4 hunger strikers simultaneously. They stopped eating food. 3 of the 4 for almost 2 weeks. They came out to Ottawa to beseech the government. It took all of this just for consultation to occur. That is not conforming or respecting the United Nations rights, Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous People. We need to keep in mind that consultation should have happened before this project went underway for all Indigenous groups involved. And consultation is not consent. And I think sometimes that gets very confused within the narrative. October of 2016, and after all of this beautiful unity and grassroots movement, Labradorians really came together and said, regardless of your background, if you're, Indigenous, Inuit, or if you're a settler, we're going to come together and we're going to say, this is wrong. This happened. And it was a beautiful moment. And in doing so, there was this consultation that happened. An agreement was struck. Here we are over a year later, and this methylmercury agreement has been broken in every facet. Matthew had mentioned to me while we were occupying Minister Carolyn Bennett's constituency office in Toronto last month, that even 10 years ago, we would have been arrested. The new way forward for current governments is, oh, I hear you. I hear your concern. And let's maybe schedule an appointment. Well, I can tell you that we've done all of that. We've spoken, we've scheduled appointments, we've tabled very, I think, convincing studies from Harvard University. And I know that's really important because Justin Trudeau, in referencing Muskrat Falls directly, has said he wants his relationship with Indigenous people to be based on science. Well, we have the best scientists in the world on the case, and you're still not buying it. The only thing that you're buying is an additional loan guarantee. You're giving that to the government of Newfoundland and Labrador in order to continue project that is creating cultural genocide on my people as well as others and other groups. This matters because my family wasn't consulted. It matters because I have cousins, and I have aunts, uncles, grandparents who live, fish, trap, hunt in a respectful way, in a way that is congruent with what we've always done culturally. And they're in that area and having to make those awful choices. I'm doing this for my family members who work at Muskrat Falls, who have to work at Muskrat Falls to be able to afford the exorbitant prices of everything, the inflation bubble that has been created by this mega project. So I think it's really important, I always want to highlight this when I have this conversation with anybody, a group of people, or just one or two, or sometimes when I'm talking to myself about this horrible project. Essentially, I'm just wondering what the guidelines are for a population to be considered worth sacrificing. So I'm just wondering why it's okay for Labradorians in the Upper Lake Melville region to be considered expendable. What are the qualifications that make a population okay to be poisoned? How much money, what's a good compensation for your family members to be poisoned? I've asked some politicians this. How much would they accept to poison their children, their family members? I just wonder that. And that's kind of, the response usually is, as Emily said earlier, well, this is a project that my government has inherited. This is a project that the provincial government, I'm sure, will be doing with all due regard to Indigenous populations. Well, this is a project that we have to continue because a lot of money is invested in it. Nobody's taking responsibility. So we have to do this resistance work now. And it's important that we do this work and that you find folks out there get passionate about this. Take a moment to imagine if this was impacting you, if you had to question what you were going to eat, if you couldn't do the things that your mothers and your grandparents and your fathers and your aunts and uncles always did, those things that define you. Thanks. I just wanted to add those things, Natalie.